Hey guys, how's it going? Unrested back here. I'm up today with something I haven't done in probably quite a while, and that's a product review. Quite often I get emails asking me about a lot of books, a lot of software, all involved with studying Japanese or maybe just adapting to Japanese culture when you get over here or being ready to visit. And one of those things that I get asked about a lot is a game for the DS, something I hadn't tried out until just a little bit ago, and that is My Japanese Coach. As you can see here, My Japanese Coach. So recently I got a hold of this software, wanted to go ahead and check it out and show it to you guys and tell you what I thought about my own personal review of My Japanese Coach. So first off, let's just talk about what this thing even is, okay? What is My Japanese Coach about? Well, pretty much it is software for the DS that lets you prepare getting ready to go to Japan. One thing tells you a little bit about the country, but most importantly, helps you study the language to get ready to be able to speak Japanese, write Japanese, read Japanese, and hear Japanese. How well does it do? I'm going to put it somewhere in a middle rating, and I'm going to tell you why with the following aspects of this game. Number one, I'm going to say the best aspect of this is the fact that it is in a game format, okay? Many times the way we study language is via books, and that's great. I always think it's great to read. I read probably a book almost every week, but the problem is studying a language from a book can sometimes get really monotonous, feel almost like a chore, or studying can maybe only last about 40 minutes before you start to not take in quite as much as what you may have initially started to take in. Okay, so another good thing about this is before you even start learning any of the language at all, it gives you a quick Japanese test to start you off. And that's to actually measure your skill, to see if you have any skill at all in the Japanese language. Maybe you had already taken a class, maybe you had just studied on your own, or maybe you just read some stuff on the internet. That's kind of good to measure how high you are before you even take it. I will say that for those of you who are intermediate level or above, this is probably too easy. I would say for those who are just beginning, this is perfect. This is probably perfect for you. There's about 100 levels in this, 100 chapters of lessons before it goes to open lessons. And I plowed through those in about 5 days just playing this on the train. So you can imagine this was a little bit too easy for myself. But once again, like I said, I've been studying for 3 years. Also, actually living in Japan and hearing the language every day does give me an unfair advantage for those of you studying abroad. I do take that into consideration. I'm not that arrogant. Let's put my endless babbling about this game aside, and let's just go ahead and jump into some advantages and disadvantages. Now, something I really didn't like too much about this game is the fact that it uses way too much Romaji. What is Romaji? Well, pretty much for those of you who don't know, when you very first start learning the Japanese language, a lot of what you're going to be reading is in Romaji, and that is pretty much the Romanized version of the same words that are in hiragana, katakana, or kanji. They've been Romanized using a Roman alphabet and put into a way that it is easier to read because they look almost like English words. Now, in the options section of this game, it allows you to choose some stuff such as difficulty level, okay? In that difficulty level, it has the selection of easy, medium, and hard. I, of course, set it to hard as soon as I started the game to give myself as much of a challenge as I could, and also to give you the hardest level that I could possibly talk about when doing this review. Also, another thing it says is replace Japanese characters with Romaji. Do not do that. If you want to learn to actually read Japanese, do not turn everything into Romaji. And also here, it lets me right away change stuff into hiragana and katakana instead of using Romaji. Yet still, as I played the game, I found most things to still be in Romaji, which is not very helpful. Now, one problem I had with this game was the fact that when it shows people how to write the kanji that it teaches, it shows the example far too quickly. And this is coming from the aspect of someone who's studied kanji for 3 years now and studied the stroke order. When learning stroke order, the first time it's taught to you, it needs to be taught quite slowly, and you need to learn the exact pattern in which it goes. Unfortunately, this game draws it out way too fast, as you can see here. For someone learning kanji for the very first time, this is way too fast. They should have slowed it down. Okay, so here's another example of how I felt the kanji wasn't so reliable. For example, it's asking me to draw the kanji for nani, what. So, okay, yeah, okay, there we go. How about this? It just said that was correct. Definitely not correct. How about Michi? Actually, it's asking me to draw the one for Michi. Boop. Okay, draw a little this, little that. Okay, is that right? Oh, okay. And if I just do a little bit here, just said it was right. Yeah, that's definitely not the kanji for Michi. Let's talk about the advantages. Now, this game I thought had a lot of advantages too. Some really great pluses and some really great reasons I think you should try it out and use it as a study guide for the Japanese language if you're just beginning. One of the first things I'd have to say is its explanation of grammar is really on par, and it does a great job of explaining moving adjectives to adverbs, vice versa, and nouns that are verbs in the English language and vice versa in Japanese. It did a really good job explaining this because when I first started learning Japanese, I found that to be one of the hardest aspects of making a sentence for the first time. Things change a lot. Sometimes they need special endings, and sometimes they need to have a converted base. And many books just don't explain that. They just give you the sentence or they just give you the word and say, this is how it is. Why? We're not going to tell you. But the Nintendo DS My Japanese Coach game did a really great job of explaining that before they tried to teach it to you. So kudos to them for that. Great job. Another thing I would say is great is the katakana and hiragana practice. Although I can't really implore you use the kanji side of this game, I will say the katakana and hiragana practice that it has for you in making you write every word in hiragana and katakana is imperative to learning the Japanese language and writing it. Another aspect is the fact that it has a native speaker for every word in every sentence that it presents. That is just indispensable, an absolutely great thing to have when you're learning the language, and something I myself should have had when I first started learning Japanese. One of the biggest problems you'll have is when you first start reading these books or dictionaries, you're reading these words to yourself with a tongue that is not native. Hence, you're going to get this horrible pronunciation that I myself still have, and a horrible accent. I still have a very heavy American accent with most of my Japanese, which sounds atrocious. An accent in Japan is not romantic, and it doesn't make you look Another great thing is a dictionary included in this. Also, a phrase book is included in this game. Both very valuable when you first come to Japan. Now, I won't say it's the most in-depth phrase book, and it's not the most in-depth dictionary. There was quite a few words that I could not find, but every single word in that dictionary is pronounced by a native speaker. Also, sometimes they let you practice the kanji behind the word as well. Great, super job on that. All in all, my personal opinion of this game, pretty darn good. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of negatives, but you gotta remember how hard it is when you're actually making a game or programming something. You gotta cut some people a little bit of slack. Plus, every book out there also has its negative sides as well. This at least delivers it on an aspect that you can enjoy it and not feel like learning is a chore because you're playing it via games. Now, would I purchase this? Yeah, I would say if you're just starting to learn Japanese, I would highly recommend it. This is great for someone who is just starting out. Now, if you're intermediate or above, or already know quite a few kanji, you're probably going to find this game useless. Another thing is at the very end, after you've finished all the lessons, it goes into what's called open lessons, and I found these to be absolutely useless. What it would pretty much do is randomly gather some words from the dictionary and try to force feed them to you. This led you to games that had words like suitcase, giraffe. Okay, it had no value because it's not put together well. At the end, it just starts to lose itself. But but if you're just starting to learn the language, if you're just starting to learn, I think this is an imperative tool that will definitely help you get good writing skills, good listening skills for those. You know, something I would like from you as the viewer is anyone watching this right now who has played the game or tried this out, please, if you have the time, make a video response to this video and add it. Let me hear your own opinion of learning from my Japanese coach on the Nintendo DS, because when it comes to review, having more than one I feel is very important. Also, I would like to see how people handled it that were living outside of Japan, because as I said, I feel I have an unfair advantage learning inside Japan. And also, I would like to hear from different learning levels, those just starting out or others who are advanced in Japanese. Thanks. Okay, so I'd like to give a quick shout out to viewer Megafix99, who actually sent me that software for the review. This is something any of you can do. If there's any software or book or anything you want reviewed about Japanese, learning it, the culture, etc., etc., feel free to go ahead and send it on over. Send me an email here on YouTube. I'll give you some contact info. We'll hook it up, all right? Thanks again to that viewer for sending it over, and I'm always willing and open to anything you guys want me to review on learning the language, because I feel that is super important to living here, or even just visiting here. You'll get so much more out of your trip, even if you just know a little bit of the language. That's our JFAQ for today. I'm your host, Unrested. I'll see you next time on JFAQ.